The Canon event. Now internet colloquial term for accepting some bullshit that you really don't want to happen. And while the internet has run with it and it's pretty fucking hilarious in most cases, we're going to take it back to the movie and ask the question, who was right between Miles and Miguel? What to do, ladies and dudes? You know what it is. JawZ in the booth, Vulgar Desperado.
Gentleman Bastards.
Sinister Diplomat.
Before we go any further, you know what to do. Please hit that like and please hit that subscribe. We'd really appreciate it on the road to 1,000. But before we go any further than that, let's set up the whole conversation and explain a little bit more in-depthly what a canon event is. So, if you haven't seen the movie by now, you're fucking up.
Truths.
Plain and simple. It's a fire movie, probably, I would say, the best movie of the year.
Yes.
Mario is really good, but this was,
It's coming in second to this one.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, number two. So, in the movie, the writers essentially, and they admit this themselves, they play into the whole Miles hatred. And a key plot line eventually becomes the whole canon event. And the canon event, essentially, Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, is essentially telling Miles that, hey, certain things in all these Spider-Man continuities, universes, have to happen to keep this all connected, or the multiverse will shatter like a web. Yada, yada, yada. And you come to find out that Miles is an anomaly. Why? Because Spider bit him. And I guess it wasn't supposed to. But we don't know. Yeah, I mean,
it's like it does kind of get kind of a little random, but it's just
you wonder because there's more to the mystery.
Yeah, he's an anomaly in his universe.
Yeah, because his Peter was supposed to survive. So essentially, and like I said, this is where the writers kind of play into the Miles hatred. Miguel literally says, "You were never meant to be Spider-Man," and Miles is, "No, I'm Spider-Man."
Oh boy, we got it.
So they kind of like. That is essentially it. The canon event is, should, I don't know if Miles is to die, or rather in some other events, not Miles dying, like this was
it's going to be his father.
Yes, his captain. And I guess that's the other part of the canon event is the fact that his canon event was that a captain and a family member essentially have to die. That was Miles'
Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was Miles' dad, in both a police captain and, the family member, someone close to him. And he did lose his uncle too.
His uncle, yep.
So,
And well, again, like for me, the thing about like, especially like with this canon event, I always just relay back to the end of the movie, because if Miles isn't supposed to be Spider-Man, that means there's a Spider-Man in that universe.
Well, there was supposed to be a Spider-Man in that,
and that spider, is those
not
spiders
there.
that got out,
the Prowler.
But is that a canon event then? Because like if that's not supposed to happen, that means there's something going on that's not a canon event in that universe.
I mean, yeah, like that's a way to look at it. I mean, in a sense, like that gets even more meta in the process of what is canon and what's not canon. But I mean, specifically sticking into like the context of like, do you agree with canon events? Do you agree that they should happen? Do you agree that, or do you disagree rather that they're needed? Because if you look at it in the meta context of you need these events to happen to be Spider-Man, like, do you think that is fair game? Do you think that's good? Do you think that's bad?
Personally, I'm the create your own destiny guy. So a canon event can always become a canon event. Stuff happens for a reason. Obviously, that spider is not supposed to be in that other universe for some odd reason, but it happened. Like that had to have happened for a reason. It wasn't just something that happened.
But I mean, here's gotta keep in context in your mind that something bad is supposed to happen to you.
100%.
You're supposed to lose a family member to maintain the multiverse.
That is and in a general sense, that's the whole thing about being a superhero. That's what makes you.
So it sounds like you're for the canon event.
I'm for it 100%.
Okay.
Because I feel like it has to happen, but I also that's when it starts getting into that slippery slope of what is the canon event? Is it something else?
This canon event, you're losing a family member.
100%. I mean, he lost his uncle or his dad. Like
he's about to lose both.
He still has the option to lose
all the male influences in his life.
And then the other male influence in his life is now
still in the J's.
Yeah, are those my words?
No, it's gonna be Peter B.
It's not my fault we got the same stuff. But like that's where. I think it just gets tricky, man, because now, like, if you are taking away all of, like, what you're setting up to me is not superhero-ish. It goes a different route. It starts making a villain at some point when you lose everybody. So it just starts going, what is a canon event at that point? So it gets really tricky, but that's just me. I don't know.
Oh, for me personally, I don't think that you need canon events to prove you're a superhero. I think when it comes down to it, yeah, you want a few things that are similar if it's going to be like a Spider-Man from a different universe like how Miles is, but you don't need everything, I think, to make him still be Spider-Man. Like, first, he already has the powers. Like, you're just going to take away the fact he's Spider-Man because he sticks to walls, he has the spider sense, he made the web and everything like every other Spider-Man does, but just because maybe he was able to save his uncle instead. Maybe he's able to save his dad in this thing, keep both of his ones who are supposed to die, but still stay Spider-Man the entire time, like, still saving people, still going through, still having almost bad, Spot is already a worse bad guy than anybody else I've seen Peter with, really, but it's just like, when it comes down to that, for me, I don't think the canon event makes the hero. I feel it does make a good story. It does keep it if you were to have like how Spider-Verse is.
So you're
multiple
saying
types
no
of things,
to the canon event.
But no, I don't think we need canon events to make it to where you're solidified as that type of hero, as a Spider-Man that Miles is and such. Like, yeah, as a story, I think it does help push it along, but I don't think Miles would have to go, or anybody would be having to be the exact same route that the original Peter went when it came to losing Uncle, losing somebody else that was kind of close, kind of precious.
Go your own way.
And yeah, like you can still be Spider-Man in his own way. Like,
so what do you say? Like, okay, you're saying kind of anti-canon event, but you're a little more pro-canon.
I'm more pro because I feel like again, they have to become a superhero somehow, some way.
Yeah, and I see both points, and I honestly kind of agree with both points, and that's why it's very hard for me because I remember watching the movie in theaters and thinking to myself, "Oh fuck, I get it." Like when he was giving that speech, I was like, "Oh, bro, I get the meta. Like I get the meta."
Yep. For me, and you see the pain in his face.
Yeah, and it kind of like. Because you really got to be real about, like, the hatred that Miles got since day one. I'm not going to act like I wasn't kind of like, what? They're killing Spider-Man and replacing him. And, like, even before I found out he was black, I was kind of like, what the fuck?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So then you get into it later, and, he's still not getting no loves. But, to be perfectly honest, I can't even say that I didn't kind of get swept up in the dislike for Miles. But then you play the game, you actually read a little bit of the comic books, you watch the first movie, and you're like, oh, this dude is legit. This is a legit character.
Miles is his own.
That being said,
legit Spider-Man.
Like, I'm a long-time comic fan. I get the understanding of, yo, bro, sometimes you got to get your back broken by Bane.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes some shit has to happen. And that's where it's really, really hard because, like, I do like that it is different. I do think because having the also knowledge of the Ultimate Universe, knowing that the whole creation of where Miles, was birthed, even though it was later years, but Ultimate Universe came out in 2000. Peter Parker, the whole, Ultimate Spider-Man teenage years, their initial reasoning for making this was, what if these superheroes came out in the 2000s? What if they came out in the modern day? So you have these more edgier characters and shit, and, they're like, they try to make it more, like, sleek and stuff, and, they're like, we're trying to reach the new youth, and, they were like, well, a black kid's gonna reach a new kid. Black people are popular. So then you got Miles. But like in that idea of like, hey, what if it's newer? What if we're trying to? That's kind of the spirit of the Ultimate Verse. That is, hey, it doesn't have to be what it once was. we can do our own thing. So I kind of appreciate that, like in the comic books, like I think he had both of his parents for a while, and I think his mom eventually dies. But then in the game, his dad dies.
Yep.
But then in the movie, both of them are kind of alive, and I'm like, hey, can we keep them both?
At the other universe too, Universe 42, he did lose his dad.
He lost his dad.
The one where it was
lost his dad.
Miles.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's just like there's still that there. He still had his own canon event. For all that, but it's just like I don't know. It does like the way that you're saying.
But that canon event created the Prowler. I think.
Yeah.
Like it went the opposite way of what it went, and that's not even saying because of him not getting bit by a spider. That's why.
I mean, for all we know, he could have got bit by that spider in that universe.
And that's what I'm saying. We just don't know.
But that's why I say I wouldn't think about that as the canon event. I would think more of the canon event in the sense of he's trying to save his dad from dying.
Well, yeah.
Because granted, he is an anomaly. He's an anomaly, and then in the sense of him being an anomaly, like he wouldn't have these issues.
Well,
so
that's what I'm saying also.
If he wasn't Spider-Man, your daddy wouldn't have to die.
Exactly. Maybe. And if he's an anomaly, he wouldn't be having these canon events. Like that's also what's to me weird about him being an anomaly. It almost doesn't make sense because what would it matter what he did if he's not supposed to be there? Like again, when someone's not supposed to be there, they can't screw up shit. That's what we learned from Back in the Future.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's not supposed to be there in the sense that he snuck in. Yeah. Like he wasn't supposed to be there. Gwen fucked up.
Yeah.
Gwen fucked up, and then it brought that nigga where he kind of fucked up more shit. Yep. And he saved old dude, chick and home and father, and he's just breaking the timelines. So like, and that's okay. I'm not gonna lie, that there's something kind of cool and meta in the sense of, hey, maybe it's kind of like, think of it like Star Wars, right? You have your old Jedi Order, and then you have the new Jedi Order. In the old Order, you couldn't get married, but then like Luke in there, and the expanded universe before Disney already said fuck you, Kathleen. Luke and them had wives and children families, and stuff. Yep. So you kind of if you look at it like that, you're like, okay, so superheroes can have like a life,
side,
and
I mean, look at Peter Parker. Man, he got a kid. He married. He got a life.
But let's be real. What makes a lot of these heroes? What makes some of the best stories? It's when shit gets real.
Really
so
broken down.
So again, like that to me, that creates so much shit. It's always
So can we all agree? We'll save his parents and let him kill Genki.
There you go.
We lose Genki. We lose a best friend. Like that's different, right?
Yeah. That might hurt a little bit, but you might get over it at some point.
I should let him keep my Jordans. I'll put him on him in the
right.
One of the other things, though, still like what Miguel had said was everybody had to go through those canon events. You have to have those losses, and you have to have all of those scars. It's just like Miles already did lose his uncle. And we're still going off of a universe.
But it was two things. Yeah, it's the uncle and the police captain.
Yeah.
But it's just like he's already in another universe where there was a Spider-Man who I
Wasn't
guess
he already supposed to lose
made
his
that
head
spider.
And then that's how his uncle died?
No, well, you lose your uncle, and then you lose the police captain.
Yep.
You get close to a police captain. His dad just got, That's why he's about to. So he's kind of getting double fucked where he's going to lose his dad and his uncle.
That's
right. It's like, that's why Gwen's kind of going through the shits too, because her loss was Peter, and then it was going to be her dad, but her dad quit.
Yeah,
but
it's a police captain specifically.
But I'm confused on what her losses are supposed. Are her losses supposed to be Peter Parker and her fucking?
It's the losses. They said it's like a family or a really close person and a police captain.
Yep.
Specifically captain. Her dad was a captain, but then he said not. So in a way, and that's why she's coming to save the day, dude, because she broke canon in a sense by dialogues. She didn't break it like physically like Miles is about to. So it's all getting changed, which is awesome because you really don't want to see these characters die.
No.
But in the grander scheme of where Miles fits in the comic verse, like I said, I'm all about Miles now. I respect him as a character. I don't think he's tokenized. I don't think he's Black Peter Parker. I think all the racist people out there, because really, like, you can be like, okay, well, he's not my favorite character. But like, yeah, okay, but like, what's really wrong with him? Not much. Like, there's not some of the hatred is not that necessary.
I'll put it to when we saw India Spider-Man pop up, man, I didn't think not one fucking person was like, man, who the fuck is this motherfucker? Everybody was like, yo, this fool.
Yeah, it was cool. He was
funny,
you know.
I liked how he was using the thing to just fucking swing around.
Bro,
and shit instead.
he was using the tool like a motherfucker, man. Like,
Kandana?
It's something like that. Like that dude, he, again, I feel like when we got introduced to all the other randos in the first one, there was, again, no hate towards any of them, but it's a lot of hate towards
Miles.
Yep.
And that's kind of the thing, people be like, you're okay with all these other Spider people, and a lot of these other people did pop up before Miles.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And for me, I don't know if it was a bunch of just unfamiliarity with the character to when you're taking out fucking Peter fucking Parker, which again is a big thing. And I also think because of it's the relevancy of Spider-Man now, because he is fucking so big in movies and stuff. You're having too many. Like, for me already, I think we have way too many Spider-Man movies as it is.
Well, and I mean, I get what you mean. Like, there's a shit ton of Spider shit, and because I was kind of in that camp. I was like, okay, we have way too many Spider people. There's a Spider Woman. There's a Spider this. There's a Spider Gwen, and I was like, all right. But then at one point, I was like, well, Spider-Man is it's not bad. Cool. If you like certain characters, because I'm not a big Jessica Drew fan, but regardless, regardless, like, Spider-Man essentially is Batman, and there's the Bat family, so why wouldn't there be the Spider family?
Yeah,
like I think, there's a way you kind of have to look at Spider-Man in a lot of these comic books, and, honest, and, don't get it twisted, I don't want to, say cheapen the brand, but you do have to expand. Yep. People aren't buying shit. Everybody's pirating shit. And the reality is, how do you reach audiences? Well, and this is where you kind of have to look at people a little weird, like, okay, well, other superheroes have been replaced by other people. Some by their same color, some by different colors. Shit happens. Technically speaking, like, Stan Lee was right. Hobie, before he was Spider-Punk, was actually played Spider-Man in the comics back in like the 70s or 80s. Yeah. So, like Stan Lee said, anybody can wear the mask. So when, you kill a character like you do and you replace him with somebody and then you're mad at somebody like that, you kind of wonder, like, okay, what are you really gangbanging on? Yeah. So, like, is it the race or is it just,
how much backlash was there for Hobie? Like,
people, people were cool with him.
Yeah, I don't see any of it.
And maybe because he was already, been around.
A lot of it, people know Spider-Punk, but also a lot of people, for me, I was like, immediately, he's British. Like, you put a British guy in a movie and they start talking, generally people are like, I fucks with that guy. Yes.
So we're just American Simpsons.
I don't even understand that part of it, man. But it's the truth. Like James Bond, man. You put James Bond in a movie, people are like, I fucks with it. Like, it's just, I don't know if it's just the properness of the accent or what.
But I guess, like, with, like I said, with all this foreknowledge, knowing the hate that Miles have gotten, all that jazz, I kind of respect and kind of like that he's doing his own thing, because we are in a new era. Fuck the haters. And at the same time, it's not like it has to be bad. Now, I'm more of a DC fan, so grittier stories, especially the old 52. I'm about it. Yeah. And I'm okay, not Gwen Stacy, because that's his girl now. Yeah. But give Miles an MJ and let him try to save her. Yeah, like, and when she dies like Gwen Stacy, exactly.
That's what he needs.
Kill Genki.
Man, you don't like that, man.
Can Genki be Green Goblin for him? Hobgoblin.
And then he dies. And then he dies.
They just got to get rid of Genki.
Like, let's just get rid of that shit.
Genki gonna choke on a burger.
Genki's gotta die. So, I don't know. I mean, overall, let's just try to wrap it up here.
Yeah, what are you, man? I don't think you answered, man. What are you for, man?
I'm gonna say, because I do like his parents. Like, I like both his parents. They're both hilarious. That's Miss Captain. I'm gonna go break the canon. I'm gonna have to go break the canon.
I mean,
okay, you know what? I'm gonna do. Let's be cheap bastards here and say I'm gonna sprinkle in some of the others. Break the canon, but add in some other fucked up events that don't involve his parents.
Keep him so he has the heroic tragedy of being.
So it's like have a canon event, but let me just kill two other niggas.
Exactly.
Be a superhero, man. Do both. because that's
I can do both.
I can do both, man. Like again, man, that's to me that line resonates so much with Spider-Man though, because
that's true. That's Spider-Man 101.
He always tries to do everything.
Yep.
Like it's not about. Bro, the Tobey Maguire train thing is still to this day one of the best scenes in a movie.
It's true.
And then it's the after effect.
I remember seeing that scene. You're like, damn, bro.
All of New York, all of New York.
Like, my nigga, his mask is off. This shit is real.
It's like, man, you mess with Spider-Man, you mess with all of us. That's what I want. That's what I want for Miles. Like, I want that shit to happen because that shit would be fire. Because that's that Peter Parker moment. That's when he becomes fucking Spider-Man,
like,
man.
You just
like,
gotta be
matter who he is.
accepted by the city, accepted by who.
Canon or no canon?
Again, man, I'm for the canon event. I feel it needs to happen, but I don't feel it's something that can't be over obtained. Like you can't not go do something else after that just because that shit happened.
Okay.
So I'm against let's break it because I want to
just 100% break it.
Yeah, like
no caveats.
I'm down for like other people, like we were saying with the MJ being Gwen Stacy for him and stuff. You know, like let him have his Gwen Stacy and she dies. Let him have somebody other.
Which I guess in the game he did lose his friend, Tinkerer, friend chick,
Tinker,
but that's
Finn or whatever.
Finn, literally PH.
So it's just like it's just there are options you can do those things, but it's like. To have him be exactly like every other Spider-Man, I don't think you need those canon events. You don't need them to be exactly the same for him to be the superhero he can be, but just we can break that.
So,
break up his
for you audiences still listening, we clearly can't sum this up well. We want bad shit to happen to him, but in a way that we would like.
I don't care if he loses somebody, but
Genki.
Genki. I guess he's the one we getting rid of. Yeah, man. Keep the family, man. Like, try to keep it around, man. Let's
see a wholesome family.
Yeah, man. Let's all this darkness. This is Marvel, man. This ain't DC, man.
This is Sony.
Let's keep it real, man.
All right. Well, y'all know what it is. JawZ in the booth. Y'all, please hit that like and subscribe on your way out. We'll catch you on the next one. Vulgar Desperado.
Gentleman Bastard.
Sinister Diplomat.
Peace.
We out.